Go ahead, Mr. Mayor, we're ready to go.
All right, thanks, George, and thanks everyone for joining us this evening. I'd like to call the August 23rd, 2021 Village Board meeting to order. Would you please stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Roll call, please, Shirley.
Kittredge,
Here.
Maher, McClafferty.
Here.
Shaughnessy.
Here.
Sadowski.
Here.
Stapleton.
Here.
Okay, great. All right. Next up, we have the consent agenda, which consists of the approval of minutes from the August 9th Village Board meeting. Minutes, we have the approval of disbursements. We have an ordinance authorizing the sale and disposal of surplus village property. We have an ordinance amending O-55-20 and extending the special use approval for preliminary mixed-use plan unit development, including 3 residential units and 3 retail restaurant units located at 1297 McCarthy Road in Lamont, known as Hamilton's Pub Mixed-Use PUD Extension. We also have a resolution authorizing the restoration of the Stonecutters Mural. I need a motion, please, and can you please say your name when you give the motion in the second?
So moved, Snagowski.
Second, Kittredge.
Okay, motion by Snagowski, seconded by Kittredge to approve the consent agenda. Any questions or comments by the trustees on this? Roll call, please.
Kittredge,
Yes.
Maher absent, McClafferty.
Yes.
Shaughnessy.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
And Stapleton.
Yes.
Okay, motion approved. Next up, we have the mayor's report. Mayor's mentioned, I'm going to defer to you, Ralph.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so an update from today on well 6. I want to make sure that I'm perfectly clear here when I say things. And when I say the well is running, that does not mean it's in service. It does not mean it's into feeding the system. So the well was running today, and we took our first sample and submitted it to the lab for EPA testing. We have to pass 2 consecutive days to put the well in service. So the plan for tomorrow is that the well is running on rented equipment, a rented generator, a rented transformer, a rented starter, and a rented motor. Okay? So what we're going to do tomorrow in our process of elimination with this electrical issue we have is we're going to use the rented transformer, generator, and we're going to run it through our starter inside the building. This is going to tell us whether the starter is bad or our transformer is bad. We're narrowing it down as fast as we can. This is an issue that we've been dealing with for months now, and I do appreciate our residents' patience with this. But again, the well is not in service yet. Okay, so the restrictions are still in place. And when we do go to put the well in service and people can start watering again, we have to make sure that we do it at a minimal pace because the system could get overloaded and we might run into issues there. So we have to follow the odd-even restrictions. So that's where we're at from today, Mayor.
Thanks, Ralph. And Ralph, I know I had a couple of meetings late last week, and I kind of simplified it as, all the hardware and the tough stuff is in place. Now it's more of a connectivity electrical issue, and we're problem solving right now to get that fixed, and we're getting close. It sounds like you mentioned, it's a combination of, is it a transformer ComEd issue? Is it a starter issue? Is it both? It sounds like you're going to try and filter through each of those in the next day or two. Is that correct?
That is correct. Tomorrow should tell us a lot again. We're basically testing each component as we go. And when I say component, I mean, these are large pieces of equipment. They're not small little starters. They're huge. They take time to hook up. They take time to disconnect. So it's a large job, and I know I keep saying that, but it takes time. Oh, we still got you? Okay, there you are. But yeah,
Sure. And thanks, Ralph, for all your help on that. I know, you know, and I really appreciate the residents' patience as well. We know it's all frustrating not to be able to water our lawn and our flowers and whatnot, but it sounds like we're getting close. And again, we want to thank all our residents for hanging in there with us. All right. Anything else to add, Ralph? Is that pretty much it?
no, unless anybody has questions.
Any
Any of the
questions
board
from the
have questions?
No, and we'll, Ralph, we'll clip this video for the village Facebook page, just so we get that information out to the public tomorrow morning. But thanks for your update.
And trust me, no one wants this well running more than me. I mean, seriously, more than me. So we're working hard.
Thanks,
All
Ralph.
right, thanks, Ralph. Okay, next up, George, we have a certificate of recognition for life saving. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and I'm going to turn it over to Chief Maton for an overview of the presentation. Then I will read a proclamation after he goes through it. Go ahead, Chief.
Thanks, George. We have a life-saving certificate of recognition, and we wanted to recognize one of our citizens, Jennifer Blankenship, who is also a checkout clerk at Pete's Fresh. On July 16th, while she was working, there was an individual, one of the patrons, who was eating in the picnic area just outside of Pete's, started choking, ran in. They called for paramedics, but while the paramedics were en route, Mrs. Blankenship performed the Heimlich maneuver and was able to dislodge the article that was stuck in the patron's throat. And we wanted to recognize her for her life-saving efforts there to assist the village. Mrs. Blankenship intended to be here tonight. She notified us early this afternoon that she had a death in the family and was unable to make it. So we're going to go ahead and read the information about what she did, and then later I've set up and arranged for her to come to the PD, where we'll present her to the certificate and take some pictures and throw them up on the Facebook page. So George is going to read the certificate.
Thanks, Chief. On Friday, July 16, 2021, while working the register, your attention was called to a customer who was in distress. While eating lunch at Pete's Fresh Market, Mr. Carlo Guarini had food lodged in his throat, making it impossible for him to breathe. He entered the checkout area, and after conveying the universal sign for choking, you immediately, without hesitation, began to perform the Heimlich maneuver for life-saving. After repeated attempts, the food was dislodged, and he began to breathe. Lamont Fire Protection District paramedics were called for follow-up treatment. Your quick thinking, ability to remain calm, and exceptional response to this situation undoubtedly saved the life of the citizen. You are hereby commended for a job well done. Signed, Mary Gofsky and Chief Mark Maton. So, Chief, you'll handle the rest when we can get her out at a meeting?
I will.
Thanks.
Great, thanks, George, and thanks, Chief. And more importantly, thank you, Jennifer Blankenship, for what you did. And we will be more than happy to honor you and get you on Facebook. And Chief, I think you'll handle that as well. Is that correct?
I will.
Awesome, awesome. Okay. All right. Next up, we have the clerk's report.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda this evening under my section would be an ordinance if passed this evening, and this is ordinance O-34-21. And this is annexing certain property in accordance with section 7-1-13 of the Illinois Municipal Code.
Okay, need a motion to approve, please.
So move Stapleton.
Second, Shaughnessy.
Okay, motion by trustee Stapleton, seconded by trustee Shaughnessy. George, you going to take this one?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll give a brief overview on myself and Attorney Stillman, and then we'll allow residents or anyone affected by the annexation or this ordinance to come up and speak at this moment. If you have other comments and questions for the meeting, that's typically at the end of the meeting, and you'll have time then, but I'll kind of give a brief overview and then see if anyone has any questions. Annexation of unincorporated territory by municipalities has been and continues to be a priority and a directive given by the Cook County Board President. This directive was discussed several years ago over multiple terms and boards and strategic planning efforts and planning outcomes as we move forward. One component of annexation that we've talked about recently is called involuntary annexation. That is a scenario where properties are completely bounded by one or multiple municipalities, two or multiple municipalities, and you're under a certain size. The village board for either of those towns could initiate a process to annex those territories. And this is, there's an area for this item generally bounded by Palos Park and Lamont, Sun Hill subdivision, and also Saddlebrook subdivision and a couple other properties. Last year, the village undertook annexation in this manner of 5 different areas, totaling about 49 acres of territory. That was back at the August 10th, 2020 meeting, and we had similar questions that I'm sure we'll have here tonight. For consideration for tonight's meeting, there's an area totaling 57.31 acres, generally along Bell Road, as I mentioned, those 2 subdivisions, and also a couple other properties. This annexation, is time sensitive, as the couple of the other ones were last year. There was another annexation adjacent to this area that was brought into the village, which brought in another area under the 60-acre threshold, which would have provided Lamont or Palos Park the opportunity to annex if you go through these steps. All steps were followed as part of this process, notification in the paper, notification to the residents. I know a couple of the questions that I've received is why couldn't there have been a workshop, or it really was because of the time-sensitive nature of moving this forward and securing the east side of town to ensure properties are in Lamont, village of Lamont, and not our neighbor to the east. A couple of the questions that I received, I'm sure I'll get here tonight, is what does this mean? And there's a lot to it, and we could talk about it tonight and have follow-up meetings. We had several good conversations last year. Typically a lot of the questions I received were related to land use, zoning. Anytime properties are brought into the village in this manner or any manner without a rezoning process, they are zoned as our default R1 zoning, which is our least restrictive zoning. Generally, everything that's been undertaken on those properties in the past will continue. There will be, or could be, and probably will be legal nonconformities that exist. And a couple of the questions, well, if I have, the village may not allow in their zoning ordinances a trailer or a boat to be parked in their driveway. That is one thing. We are not in the business to day one, bring that all up to code. There is sections of our UDO, correct, Mike, and I'll have you kind of fill in the gaps where a legal nonconformity in this manner can exist and continue as long as you're not making the legal nonconformity more extensive, I guess is how we'll handle it. And, there were a couple questions last year. There really have been no issues. This is a manner. The only thing that will change, I guess, all your districts will stay the same, school, fire. The difference is your municipal services, and is your police services now will go from the Cook County Sheriff to now being provided by the Lamont Police Department, and your public works services will transfer from being provided by the Lamont Township Highway Department to the Village of Lamont Public Works Department. There's no requirement to hook on to water or other means. If you do have if you're pulling a permit or you're developing, you will have to come through the village's process. But if you exist as is and move forward, there will be very little change other than, if you have a call, the police department, and then also if you have an issue related to public works, the village's public works. Mike, I'll turn it over to you to see if I missed anything and before we kind of open it up.
No, George, you hit on all the points. As far as the concerns we hear often is about any non-conforming use. burning of leaves, stuff of that nature, just an example. And as you hit on, if you were doing it before, as long as it does not become greater, that under our UDO, that is allowed. That's largely in what we've heard in the past is a large concern that residents have. But also, just to reiterate, President Preckwinkle has asked municipalities within Cook County, which this area is in, to annex unincorporated areas, largely in part because of the services of that nature, especially police services. So you have the ability to have our fine police department now that'll be, providing that rather than Cook County Sheriff, which has a much larger jurisdiction and a larger response time. So that's one of the requests that she had, and we're going upon that directive. Other municipalities are doing this. Palos Park could have done that as well. It was a time-sensitive manner. It is within all the portions of the statute which the legislature allows under 60 acres, and we followed all the necessary requirements under the statute. Actually, we went above and beyond. We put notice in both the Tribune, Tribune Publishing, which was Southtown, and in the Sun-Times, and also gave individual notice to the property owners via certified mail and via FedEx. So in my opinion, we're legally good to go to the board if after you hear any of the comments from the potential affected parties.
Thanks, Mike. And just to another quick follow-up, a question I got earlier today, and it may came up. This is the first time that we've, engaged a forced annexation of this matter where there's going to be actual infrastructure and roads. Last time it was along McCarthy Road, where it's a state highway. So there may be a lot of questions of, what does this mean for my road? What does this mean for, when will it get repaved? Those, we do need to sit down with Director Pakula and his team, and I know you'll be reaching out to the Township Highway Department as well to understand the history of these roads, but none of that will be decided or in now or in the near future, but just this is bringing it into the village's jurisdiction. It'll be recorded, and we will move forward within the village. With Mr. Mayor, do you have anything before I kind of open it up?
Well, George, I think you guys covered it again. Just to reiterate, this is time sensitive, and we appreciate all of the residents. I know this can be, very frustrating when you get these notices. Just bear with us. I think, George, you've talked with quite a few of the homeowners. This is of time-sensitive nature, and just appreciate the homeowners and the landowners working with us on this. And I think with that being said, George, do you want to or you want to run the Q&A on this?
Yeah, and as I mentioned, if there's any other item other than this item on the agenda, there'll be time later on to speak to the board. But if I could kind of limit it to folks who want to speak on this item specifically, you can raise your hand and I'll call you up to come to the podium if anybody wants to speak on it. Oh, you could come on up, sir, and please, before I do that, come on up, but does the board have any other questions, comments? I should have, nope.
Nope.
You just state your name, sir, and we'll.
So my name's Andy. I live at 42 Sun Hill Lane, and thank you for answering some of these questions here. I bought my property 2 years ago. Unfortunately, bought it for a reason, for the simple fact that it was unincorporated, so it's kind of not what I was wanting to hear here. But over the 2 years, I just find it kind of bad communication, I think, on everybody you can say, because not only have I never heard of this before, but the letter that we received in the mail was very blank. We had no address, no time, just everything was for us to figure out. So that's one thing I think poor communications is not good for us. Second thing, I think it's from the sound of it, it sounds like you guys have already made up your mind and there's nothing we can do. But I wanted to find out, how does it affect us financially? I know our tax bills are gonna go up. I know we're gonna have to pay more money, and nobody likes to hear that in Cook County because we're already paying top dollar, you know, for properties. So I wanted to find out who's gonna give us the information on how it's gonna affect us more. And I think that information should have been sent to us prior to this meeting, so we can know more what's happening. I mean, after all, it's our house, you know, it's where we live. I just jotted down a few things here, but another thing I don't understand, and I heard several people say it's time sensitive. Why is it so time sensitive?
Okay.
Forgive me if I asked the questions.
Yeah, no.
It never came up before, so I work for Cook County myself. I'm trying to figure out why this is so time sensitive when there's so many unincorporated areas. So for the most part, I'm looking for information, and I know it's going to hit my pocket whether I like it or not. But I mean, the Lamont, you know, township has issues with water. We have our own wells. We have no issues. I was actually glad to hear you say we're not going to have to hook up to city water. Is that correct?
You will not be required to hook up as part of this action here today. In the future, if your wells do run dry or you need municipal service, you know,
Okay,
we
no,
do
that-
have a water line there, but
I'm glad to hear that, but yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions that I hope we can get some
and that's fair.
answers to here.
And I think last time, you know, we offered up, I think a couple residents on McCarthy Road took us up as to have a more substantial meetings to discuss these issues, because some of them, the financial issue, we tell people, the villages levy on your tax bill is the lowest of all 13 or 14 entities, or one of the lowest. Most of your taxes go to your school districts, park, things of that nature, fire. So it is a small portion. What we tell people, we do also have the lowest tax levy in Chicagoland. I think, Jason, are one of the lowest, lower than our neighbors of Romeoville, Palos Park. What we tell people generally is it's $100 per 100,000 of actual value. If you have a home that's worth $500,000, you will pay $500 more dollars a year in taxes. There are other portions of that. You get a break on your garbage bill. You get some other perks of better services, in my opinion. Nothing against the Cook County Sheriff or the Township Highway, but we're closer, more, we're able to provide those services locally. So those are the two issues. We can get into the details of how much exactly would need to be for further research, but that's generally
I'm familiar with the
thumb.
levies because you guys just filed them with the treasurer's office, but it still doesn't give us any
Understand.
answers on what is happening. And in the end, do we have any kind of say in this? Because from anybody that I talked to, nobody's in favor of this, so.
Yeah. And that's fair. I talked to, it goes into the time-sensitive nature of your question. Because you're wholly bounded by two municipalities, they both have an equal right and opportunity to force annex this territory. So had Palos Park initiated this process a day earlier, you would be in Palos Park with a higher levy, no chance of water and sewer, limited chance. It shouldn't go that far, but higher levy, your police department's further away. So this is something we did to protect this area. And again, our levy's fairly low, but those are great questions we can follow up on. That's the time-sensitive nature of your question, is that
I see. Okay,
either
so-
town could have forced annexed you.
Okay, I understand that part.
And the
Now-
county, and not the county has made, a directive, and that all these areas go somewhere, right? So over time, you're gonna come to the Village of Lamont, or you're gonna go to the Village of Palos Park. I think that's kind of the thinking. It's not a choice. We want to remain unincorporated forever. You're going to one or the other, so that's.
Yeah, my train of thought is if it ain't broken, don't fix it. So,
Understand.
I kind of liked it the way it is and would love to stay that way. Unfortunately, if that's nothing, that we can be a part of, but the main thing here is it's a, great surprise. Some of my neighbors just bought a house 2-3 months ago and next thing you know, they're getting a piece of mail and it would have been nice, since this has been discussed before, to either have something at the closing so that these people would know this. But, that's just poor communications in my opinion, so.
Fair enough.
And then I'm not sure if we can get a list or of things that are going to change, or how does this process work?
Yeah, which you could, very little will change, but, you know, if you can leave your contact information, maybe Mike, you can gather, and we can have a follow-up meeting to give a more
It
exhaustive.
would be nice, I think, to send this out to everyone who's affected, not just me.
Yep, correct.
And then my final question is, when is this actually happening? Is there a date or no?
Well, it'll be recorded with the county recorder soon. I don't know how quickly the levy process works, but it'll be immediately. We'll get the notification out to the police department and
So
Public
this is
Works.
something that's already been voted on and so on and so forth?
That's why you're here tonight. It's
Voting
being
tonight.
voted on.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Come on up, sir. Just state your name when you get up here.
I live on the east side of Bell Road, south of McCarthy. Now, I understand I still have to pay Cook County for now services that I won't receive from them, plus I have to pay property taxes to get these services from the village of Lamont now? Or will Cook County, my portion to Cook County be less? And is there, part
Yeah, go
two, is there anything that's gonna make my house more desirable to someone else? Other than, so far I'm hearing I'm gonna get higher taxes, and everything's gonna stay the same with me until I sell it. So I can't offer that to someone, a potential buyer. I'm retired, and I may wanna move out of this area sometime. How is this gonna make my house more marketable?
Well, you have two choices. It's, you're going to be marketing as a Lamont resident or a Palos resident. And what's happening here is just, once there's transactions, real estate transactions happening out in the outskirts, once a certain transaction is made, all of a sudden, there's a race between Palos and Lamont to, once it becomes under the 60 acres, there's two municipalities that are going to go in there. It's going to be Palos or Lamont. So to answer your question,
I understand that.
yeah.
It doesn't sound very good to me, doesn't sound very good to somebody who might want to buy it. So why would they want to buy it? Oh, because the taxes are not going to go up as much as if it was over here. Here, that's only going to go up this much. And no, you can't park a trailer in your yard anymore. And no, you can't do this and you can't do that. Because once I sell it, it's going to be under under the Lamont rule. Nothing will be grandfathered in anymore. So there's no incentive whatsoever for someone else to buy my property.
I think the zoning.
It's devalued now with this change that's going to happen.
Sir,
And it's not going to be taxed less now that it's devalued and unmarketable. It's going to be taxed more.
sir, if I could, let me speak about the difference in services between the county and the municipality, whether, in this case, Lamont. So there's no question that the property will be annexed by someone. So you're sort of stuck. Which you're going to go, left or right? And if you come to Lamont, what I can tell you as a resident, compared to unincorporated, there's two things that are going to improve. The police services, if you ever need them. They're closer, quicker, and there's more of them. The second thing that's going to improve is the public works, whether it's getting the roads plowed, whatever happens, you're going to see a big improvement there. As far as,
Bell Road will not be a village road. It's county.
Ralph, am I correct, or what's the deal? I really don't know
for this gentleman being on Bell Road.
Yeah,
On
Yeah,
Bell
but-
Road.
Yeah, Bell Road's not gonna change, it's not gonna
Bell
transfer
Road
to
is
us.
gonna be
Yeah, he's just
Okay.
trying to answer your
plowed
question.
by
Go
the
ahead.
county.
So in the subdivision, they would get it though, right?
Yeah, he's on the east side.
I'm not on the
All
the
right.
subdivision.
But I would say, the police service will, which may or may not be an issue to you, but that would improve. So when someone says, hey, what are the advantages of moving or getting incorporated? Again, you're sort of stuck. You're gonna go left or right. You really, unfortunately, doesn't have a choice right now. So Payless, Lamont. But the other thing is, you ask about, do you have to pay the county? Like, I know we pay law enforcement fees for Cook County. It'll probably, as far as I know, will stay the same. What are you paying for? Well, you'd have to ask the county officials, what are you getting out of that?
I know what I'm
But-
paying for.
But I don't, I understand you'd more like to be left alone. But unfortunately, I don't think it's up to Lamont to be able to do that for you.
So we're stuck.
You're stuck, sir.
You
And
just
I don't
get
mean
to-
it in a bad way.
Just need to choose who's gonna stick it to us.
Well, hopefully that's not the case, but I can tell you that there are advantages to being incorporated. The service and the attention that you would get, call the county for service, call the village for service, see the difference, and I'll tell you that's a fact.
Thank you, sir.
With regards to, Robert, the zoning, we're trying to come up with a zoning like that's comparable, like, to the township for all these properties that are being annexed in, so that it's not as, less impactful to the owners. So we are working on trying to come up with something that'll be very comparable to township zoning.
Yeah, and most of these properties will adhere to the R1 zoning that they're being put in, and the other, we could go through this, but, water and sewer, you may not have a need for it now, but your future, whoever you're selling your property to one day might prefer village water versus well. And if you ever want to develop your land, if you have more land to subdivide, the township has no ability to procure services. So anybody else want to, go, let's state your name.
My name is Dan Beckloff. I live on Sun Hill, and I disagree with the closeness of the police. Cook County is a mile from my house. Obviously, Lamont is not. Our plowing on our street is incredible. It's fantastic. I don't believe your plowing could be any better. I bought the house because it's unincorporated. My well works, unlike apparently one of yours. So it's a shame that you're not putting more effort into your wells than annexing yards. And we'd probably be better off under Payless Park. No disrespect, being under Lamont. So
Thank you.
I would like to know why you haven't bothered trying to annex equestrian estates yet. Is it too big? What's the reason for that?
We could go through, there's a lot of pockets of town, and that equestrian estates is probably, I would guess, 200 acres of land, and maybe even more than that. So they're just too large as part of this process. And again, this is a directive, the Cook County president and has handed this down over the years. We're following along and doing our best to kind of make everything right for everybody out there, but.
So I see zero benefit, but I'd probably see higher taxes as my guess to this move. So
Okay,
it's a shame.
thank you. Can we wait till everybody has a chance first?
I think she wanted to talk.
Yeah,
It's a forest preserve police there.
yeah. Yeah.
I just want to say.
Can you state your name,
I'm
please?
sorry, Janette DeBarris.
Thank you.
I still live in an unincorporated area, and that's why I'm going to speak. Because what I'm telling you here tonight is the honest to God's truth, as I see it, all right? First of all, not only are your taxes going to go up, but our taxes are going to go up in the unincorporated areas. I don't care what the president of Cook County wants, okay? She doesn't have the authority to tell you to do this, and you don't have to do this. And to me, this is nothing more than taking a property that is unfortunate. and doesn't have to be done. It's because people want to get rid of the townships. All the unincorporated areas they want to get rid of. They say, oh, they cost us too much money. The only thing that costs Cook County too much money is the Cook County Hospital that is run poorly, and they get into millions of dollars in debt. That's the only thing that is appropriate. I just do not believe that this is happening. I can't believe that it is going to go on. It's going to go on. They're going to keep doing this to every unincorporated area in the township. We have a township. We have a township organization right now, not with a very good leader right now. And I have to tell you what's going to happen. They're going to keep doing this, and this is to make more money for the rich people. Okay, put up these houses, charge $400,000 for them. You've seen them, duplexes, and they're charging $400,000 on a little tiny piece of property. Take a ride down there and see what's happening, and it's going to happen again right along here because they have 8 acres and they're going to put 32 duplexes on it. This is Lamont, all right? And they went through this because you know why? They need more tax money. They need to pay their debts, and they need more tax money, and that's why they're doing this. I don't know anything about the other municipality that they say, you know, this is a scare tactic. Well, you know, if you don't go with us, you know, Palos is going to come in and take it. Well, I don't know, maybe Palos would be better than Lamont. So I believe that this is nothing but to make people money. And I am appalled that the only thing that was in the newspaper that talked about this, it said a notice of contemplated annexation. Where was the contemplation? We walked in here and you told us it's happening, period. There's no thing. My understanding is when you're going to do this and you're going to force annex somebody, you have to at least ask them whether they want you to do that or not. And if I'm wrong, I will find out. But you may be putting yourself in an area where you might be getting a lawsuit.
Thanks, Jeanette. Anybody else before Andy wants to come back up? All right, Andy, if you want to come back up one more time.
Sorry, just one question on how you can possibly help the neighbors, because when we look at our tax bill, we have our own septic and we have our own well, yet we're still paying about $600 each year in property taxes to the Water Reclamation District of Chicago. And I've called attorneys, I've talked to the clerk's office, I talked to everybody and their mother, and in the end, what they told me that it comes down to the Lamont levies. So I was hoping maybe you guys can take a look into that and see why we're paying property taxes on our own septic and wells.
Yeah, we can look into that. I do think there is a conversation about taxes, because I don't know if it was yourself or someone else mentioned about, in theory, yeah, if you're, the township highway department's taxes should go down now, right? They're doing less work in your subdivision. We're doing more work. I'm not sure that actually happens, and we'll just have to make sure that the dollars are being transferred the right way. And the MWRD one is a new one on me. I know that there's folks in the Sun, in the Fox subdivisions, Fox Hills, and where they actually pay double. They pay Illinois American and they pay MWRD, so they pay double taxation on sewer. We've never been able to crack the code on that one. I can check on, I don't think it has anything to do with our levies, though. But
That's what
I'll
I've been
double check.
told, so
Yeah.
I just thought I'd come up and ask if you can look into that.
Okay.
because
Yep, that's
That's
fair.
obviously quite expensive for something we have no service of at all.
Okay,
So, thank you.
thanks.
Well, it wouldn't be on our levy anyway, it'd be on
Yeah.
the township levy.
Yep. You could just go from there. That's fine, if you want.
I have heard that the mayor of Vermont is telling people that are in the municipality and also in Vermont Township that they're being charged twice for things, okay? And I would like to know who is saying that and what is it that we're being charged twice for? Or that they are, because they are both in the municipality and in the township. And I don't believe that to be true. And he tells them, well, if we get more people from the unincorporated areas into the village, your tax bills are going to go down. Trust me, their tax bills are never going to go down. The only place they're going to go now is up. So keep lying to people and see what happens in the future.
Thank
I
you.
think people in Lamont, we're still in the township, the village of Lamont are still in the township. So I think maybe he might have been mistaken, we're talking about duplications of services that the people in the village may be paying. We're still paying township also.
I don't understand what you're saying, but it's false what you just said.
What's false?
Yeah, and it
You
just,
said I was telling people we're getting charged twice. I have no idea what you're talking about.
yeah, and it just to, clarifying that, I mean, I know it's confusing, but even when you're annexed to the village of Lamont, you are still in the township is Ken, and the township will always exist even if these roads all go to Lamont. They still provide, whatever their statutorily provided duties are, social services, they will, so I mean, the township will never go away even if these properties come into Lamont, but it is maybe there's a workshop here in the future. It is confusing. It's convoluted. All right, anybody? All right, nothing else? Yeah, go. Just because the mic, if you can make it, or if you want to just say your name, see how loud you are, and go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, you're good. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
My name is Debbie Matthews, and I had a question about the water thing. If we are tied into Lamont water, who pays to hook us up? If we're now going to be in the town of Lamont, or whatever you want to call it, in Lamont, and paying for the services, are you going to hook us up to the water?
No, you're not required to hook up, but when you do, you will have to pay for that service. But right, you have access to it now. Yeah. Yeah.
Does that also apply to potential new, like if I sell my house to someone, can they stay on the well?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
If you want to keep it the same, if that's the goal, I don't know why you would want to be hooking up to the water, but
And we have areas of Lamont now in the village that still have well water. There's not many, but 2nd Street, right, Ralph, 3rd.
yeah.
So, go ahead.
Okay, so the way we were forced to kind of like go into the township, what if one day you guys forced us to connect to the water and we have to pay for it?
I mean, I can't play what ifs for the future. We have no ability right now to do, yeah. Yeah, it's more of a safety net.
Because, I mean, you guys have the ability to do it for, bringing us to the township. I mean, nobody.
Two different parts of the law. We don't have that.
Okay, no, I'm sorry, but anyways, nobody likes changes here,
Yep.
I'm sure if you guys had a change going with your homes and stuff.
Understand.
You guys would not like it. It just, we all feel, devastated that this is happening and that we did not really have much in saying to it, I just feel like there would have been a better way to bring this on. I mean, we just moved into this house a year ago and we got 2 letters within like a week and we were not noticed before, and I was going neighbor to neighbor trying to figure out what this was because we immigrated from Macedonia about 9 years ago and we don't know much English. And the way you guys specified things in here, there was some words I did not really understand, and I had to translate this for my father and everybody in the household, and he's at work and I'm here in the name of him, and I'm just trying to figure everything out because we don't like the change. I'm sure if this happened to you guys would not like this either. You guys would be here fighting whoever is in front of you. So, we're just devastated. I hope you guys understand this, and since we have no choice, right, that you guys are gonna have to work with us and keep some of the things that we have, and you guys just have to work with us so we can get this figured out, and we can have as much as freedom as we had while being with you guys. So I know that we tried our best here. I don't know what you guys are gonna do, and I hope we have more say into this, right? I can't really speak for everybody, but I'm trying my best here. But if we could work with this and get some of the things and keep some of the freedom that we have, that'd be awesome.
I think if you ask the people that were annexed last year, was there much of a difference in the impact on their homes? I'd say there's very, very little, and we hope that's going to be the case with you guys too, as little as possible,
Okay. No, thank you.
except for the services.
Thanks, Andy, for that insight. And George, similar to what we did last year, I think we had follow-ups with each of the groups or individual landowners, we're more than happy to sit down and answer individual questions. I think that went a long way, and it helped, cleared up a lot of misconceptions or questions as well. But Annie, you brought up, Annie, Robert, Dan, you guys brought up some good points, and we're more than happy to, sit down with you individually or, in groups to go through various, additional questions or issues if need be.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
Any other questions or comments by the trustees on this? Okay, all right, thanks, George, appreciate it. Roll call, please.
There's one more.
We got one more question, then we'll.
His name?
Can you stand up, sir? I can't hear you.
Name?
We have company trucks.
Name.
You-
It's not like a factory, so what's gonna happen with that? I know we bought, you give your name for the clerk. Oh, Daniel Janowski.
Okay. So you have company trucks that park on the property?
Yeah, we bought a bigger property, so we don't.
Mike, I think that falls under the nonconformity, is that?
Under the code. As long as you were doing it before, you can do it, you can continue to do it. It's allowed under, it's called a non-conforming use. So as long as you don't park more, as you're parking the same. Right,
That's the reason we bought it.
right, right,
You have to get a yard or something.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. All right. Good question. Oh, Charlie.
Okay, the next,
Oh, you didn't even do a roll call.
Okay. Kittredge,
Yes.
Maher absent. McClafferty,
Yes.
Shaughnessy.
Yes.
Snagowski.
Yes.
Stapleton.
Yes.
Okay, the next resolution,
Okay, motion approved.
the next resolution, if passed this evening, would be R-51-21. And this is approving a collective bargaining agreement, the Metropolitan Alliance of Police, Lamont Police Chapter number 39, May 1st, 2021 to April 30th, 2024.
Okay, need a motion, please.
So moved, McClafferty?
Second, Shaughnessy.
Okay. George, you
Yeah.
gonna take this as well?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The collective bargaining agreement between the village and the Metropolitan Alliance of Police, Chapter 39, which covers 15 full-time officers in the police department, expired on April 30th of 2021. Administration, legal, and command staff have been working with the MAP bargaining team on a successor contract for 3 years. And the agreement covers all the objectives and goals set out by the board over the last couple years. There's definitely advantages to having labor stability and cost stability. It's a fair contract on both sides and gets us another 3 years. I would call it more of a maintenance contract more than anything, not a lot of substantial changes. There were new provisions added in relation to the new police reform bill and the subsequent cleanup language. I know Chief Mayton worked very hard on in Springfield, but just new regulations and requirements in association with those new rules and regulations at the state level. But by and large, a maintenance agreement gets us through another 3 years. I want to thank before we open it up for any more comment, but thank the bargaining team. Did a great job. Again, a fair contract that gets us through the next 3 years. So, Mike, anything
Thanks,
else that I missed?
And I just want to reiterate that as well. I want to thank, the union as well, more importantly, our police officers for bearing with us on this. I think it's a fair deal. I hope everyone on the force thinks the same way as well. But again, I want to thank the union, thank the force, thank our side as well. I know these are a time-consuming process. I think we did a great job getting this done in somewhat short order. These are never fun things to do, but like I said, I think it's a fair deal, and really appreciate the police force for hanging in there. and looking forward to another 3 years of great service. And with that being said, Chief, do you have anything else to add on this? All right, any other questions or comments by the trustees? Okay, roll call, please.
Kittredge,
Yes.
Maher absent. Lafferty,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Sagowski,
Yes.
Stapleton.
Yes.
Okay, motion approved. All right, thanks, Charlene. Okay, next up, Village Attorney Report. Mike, do you have anything for us?
Just a little bit, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, a busy month with the two items we just addressed, but also, you'll notice we are wearing masks again. That is because of mandate from Cook County Department of Public Health as of Friday that they are requiring masks indoors. That is not a village mandate. However, since the Cook County Health is over the all municipalities, it is a requirement, a mandate within Cook County as of, I think it was today. So we're starting to use that. I also have had questions from various officials regarding, and just to clear up, the masks required in school. Again, that is not a municipal function. We have nothing to oversee that. That is a function of both the state government and the Illinois the State Board of Education. It is not something that the board can do anything for to kind of change that. I know some residents will look to other municipalities have done that, have tried to take on the state government. But I would also point to the fact that those that have tried to sue the state government have been found to not have standing and have had to pay substantial legal bills because of that. So it would be my recommendation on a legal basis that that would be not a good use of your time or your resources. So masks are here. There could be changes regarding mitigation. There has been some talk that we could go back into the various Restore Illinois plan. We're still in phase 5, and hopefully that continues to stay that way. But if it does change whatsoever and we go into 4.5 or 4 or all those numbers, I don't think we'll ever go back into 3. But I'll be there to report to you, and I work with all of your village staff. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. George, Village Administrator Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One quick issue. We've been receiving several calls regarding the village's aggregation program. Not quite as many calls other than the well, but it's pretty close. Aep Energy Services is the village's chosen aggregation supplier. This has been a program. It was approved via referendum back in 2012 to allow the village board to go out and purchase electric supply for the entire town. It's a very successful program. While your ComEd bill will never change, it always comes from ComEd. The supply portion can vary. You can choose your own supplier, you can choose a village supplier, you can choose ComEd. Over the years, it's been very successful, saving residents $300, $400, $500 a year. Its since has come down to earth, and the market has corrected itself. It's still a worthwhile program. We talked about it at a committee of the whole meeting a couple months ago, and then the village approved the program last meeting. Letters have gone out. I think what's important is that at any time it's an opt-out program. The rate provided will be very close and a little bit under the ComEd rate. Currently it's higher, but ComEd is going to change in October. So that is why the board chose at the time to continue the program, because it will provide a stable, consistent rate for a 2-year period. At any time, you can opt out, and if you're having any issues opting out, you can call Village Hall, 257-1590. We'll walk you through it. We'll even bridge you through and be on the call with you. We'll call the 800 number. So just want to reiterate that. We put information out. It's your choice. You can opt out. You can opt back in. Every month you can go back and forth if that's what you choose to do. This just provides a consistent budget figure for you for a 2-year period, and we'll reevaluate it in 2 years. So That's all I have, Mr. Mayor, and other than the meetings going forward, we'll kind of play it by ear. Mask will be a requirement until the rules have relaxed, and we'll try to incorporate a little more Zoom in the future. But just want to mention that, and back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, George. All right, next up, any staff reports?
Ralph, anything? Chief? Yeah. Chief has one.
Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll have a real brief. On Friday, I wanted to thank all the citizens who helped support our fundraiser for the Special Olympics that we had Friday morning at the Dunkin' Donuts. We had civilian and sworn staff volunteer from the police department and braved the oppressive heat and humidity in the morning. But we raised a total of just over $8,000 for the Special Olympians. And of course, this fundraising goes to support the Special Olympics Illinois, so that the Special Olympians can go down to Bloomington and participate in the games down there. This year, what most of you know is Cop on Top. We were not on the rooftops this year. They've changed the theme due to Dunkin' Donuts has a new corporate ownership. Felt that there was some consternation on their part to be affiliated with the name of the police, so it was changed from Cop on Top to Coffee with Champions. We are next year. It will be we'll participate, and it will be called Coffee with Cops and Champions. So look for that in May. This was pushed back a little because of COVID, obviously, but we'll be back in May, again, fundraising for the Special Olympians. So, again, thank you for all of your donations. It goes for a great cause. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. And it sounds like it's a great fundraising event, as it always is. And again, we appreciate, all the residents and their generosity as well. Did you say the total was 8,000, Chief?
Yes, it's just over 8,000. It's 8,027. We still have some folks dropping checks off, and usually for the 2 or 3 days following it, so it'll be just over there, and that it should get us on the shirt again this year.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. All right. Next up, any board reports or unfinished or new business? All right. George, you want to handle the remainder if there is any other audience participation?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our standard part of the agenda where we allow anyone to come up and address the board. We do offer an opportunity to send in questions beforehand. We did not receive any, but I'll open it up to audience participation. If you have any comments, you can come up to the podium for our typical 3-minute participation session. Not seeing any. Oh, no problem.
But just one point for all of us here before the meeting was started. We all said the Pledge of Allegiance, where we mention justice for all. I don't think justice for all is served today. I feel like the village pulled a fast one on us, and we had no input. But that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Anything? Oh, that's all I see, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, great. All right. Need a motion to move into executive session to discuss under Chapter 5 ILCS of the Open Meetings Act, a setting of price for sale for lease or lease of property 120/2C6, and also purchase or lease of real property 120/2C5. Need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, with that being said, we have a motion to go into executive session. Roll call, please.
Kittredge,
Yes.
Maher absent, Lafferty,
Yes.
Shaughnessy. Yes. Sagowski,
Yes.
Stapleton.
Yes.
Okay, motion approved. We will not have any decisions or need to go back into public session after our executive session. So again, want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. Wishing everyone a great week. And that ends the public part of our meeting tonight. Thank you.